Thanks, Herman, and congratulations to Dr. Keith Lowe and his very able team on yet another successful to be already Toronto Hakka conference. What a difference 20 years makes, what a difference 4 years makes. I'm heartened actually that in this time of uncertainty and so much craziness going on in the world, we can gather here in Canada at an event such as this to talk about our roots, our multiculturalism, and our differences, and to embrace each other in such a wonderful way. Senator the Honourable Vivian Poy and Dr. Keith Lowe, Professor Andrea Davis, Professor Carl James, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce Dr. Shui Lung Kong, Order of Canada, Professor Emeritus, University of Toronto, who is no stranger to the Hakka conference. I remember Ray and I meeting him in 2012 when he was also a speaker. In the 70s, Professor Shi Lung played a major role at UNESCO in the modernization of the economic and education systems in Africa, Latin America, and Asia. He was also a World Bank expert on development at that time. He also played a key role in China's opening policy, which led to the progress we now see in the economic and cultural enactment with the global community. He was a Hong Kong advisor for the return to Chinese sovereignty in 1997. Amongst his publications are books on Chinese wisdom and culture and how they influenced the West since the 16th century. He has translated some 800 classical Chinese poems into modern English. Professor Shui Kong lives a true Hakka life and has another book in the making, this time Global Hakka Food Culture, with 120 dishes to easily prepare and learn. And I'm really looking forward to that so that I can, bone up my Hakka food. My mother's in the audience and she'll talk about ham choy and pork and so forth. More recently, he has lectured at universities in Myanmar, Taiwan, and Vietnam about the wisdom of Zen and the way to live a peaceful and satisfied life. I think something we all strive for these days. I'm told also that Professor Shi Kong has relatives in Jamaica. And maybe we are related, as my father's first cousins were the late Leslie Kong and the late Father Kenneth Kong. Ladies and gentlemen, a warm Toronto Hakka welcome for Dr. Shui Lung Kong, the inaugural G. Raymond Chang Distinguished Speaker.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, Donette. Professor Kong. So as Dr. Kong is coming up, I just wanted to let you know that we have allowed for a little bit of time at the end of his talk for some audience participation, so you'll have a chance to ask Dr. Kong some questions at the end of the speech. So, Dr. Kong, I turn the podium to you, sir.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning.
I remember last time I was here, I sort of complained that with all the money and prestige, York University couldn't come up with a speaker that is mobile, so that I don't have to use one hand to hold a microphone and go around, maybe go forward nearer the audience. Is it still possible to have one? something?
กี่สิบยงปันทองกี่สิบยงปันทอง
Okay, there we are. Back to the 21st century. I wanted to thank so many people, but if I do, then I won't have time speaking. So I will skip that if I may. I'm going a little slow for a number of reasons. One is that when Professor Dr. Toy's Senator Toy saying that she is a genuine Hakka, I will announce that I am a dinosaur Hakka because I actually exemplify what is a Hakka, and I, with humility, would also say that I am a living encyclopedia of Hakka because I have lived all my life as a Hakka, eating Hakka food every day, cooking Hakka food every day, and speaking Hakka every day. So, with that beginning, what am I going to talk about? How could I talk about this vast thing that is Hakka? First of all, may I ask you to stand up for a minute and say after me. I know those of you who find it difficult would just remain on your seat and say after me, I am a Hakka proud. What?
I'm a Hakka.
A Hakka proud. Louder.
I'm a Hakka.
Boring. Thank you. Now don't sit down yet. Turn around and look around you and see that this is Hakka.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Sit down, please. Do not underestimate what you're seeing today. The many faces of Hakka. A moment ago, someone said that, I think it's a professor, that someone asked her if she is 1/8 or 1/16 of a Hakka. By the end of this morning, you will know that that is an irrelevant question. You are Hakka. I have often in my dreams two very distinguished faces that haunt me. One is a woman called Paula Williams Lowe, and the other is her mother. Paula, would you stand up, please, and turn around? Later, I think you will have a chance of seeing her mother's picture, right? One is what I call a radiant, vital brown. The other, a serene, subdued, confident, pale yellow. They are just Hakkas. Forget about how many percentage. There are three kinds or three strengths of Hakka people that I can distinguish. One appears in all the literature that says that the Hakka people are a branch of the Han race or the Han ethnic group that have gone from the north to the south and then from the south to all over the world. That's one strength. I am a representative, perhaps. The second strength are mixed broods, all kinds of mixed broods. What do you call mixed broods? They're really mixed genes, not broods. You don't. When you make love, you don't really. And perhaps when you give birth, you do breed. But mixed blood is an erroneous term. The third strength are people that Hakkas have adopted. They are just adopted. They have no mixed bloods or mixed genes or whatever. And once they have adopted them, they become their own. Not a blood relation, but a cultural and whatever humanitarian thing. All right. I have so much to talk about in 1 hour. Actually, I usually lecture for 3 hours or 5, and the organizer would not allow that. First of all, the title given to me, the important word is humanity. What is humanity? I recall many images, one of which is, I think, is still Roy McMurtry is still the, what do you call, Chancellor of this university? Former Chancellor, okay. So I can talk about him. One year, he visited me in Hong Kong, and we went out in a boat to the sea. And it was a fine day like this, but much hotter. And Roy said to me, I wanted to swim. And I said to him, I did not have a swimming trunk for you. And he said, that's no problem. I said, how? He said, watch me. And in front of 7 men and 3 women, he just took off all his clothes and went natural into the water. That is humanity. Meaning, humanity is do what you are. Forget about all the rest. You came natural, you swim natural, and you go natural. All right, there are so many images. First of all, I would say this, because of the lack of time, I am going to use the movie technique of montage, which means that the camera would go on one scene and then sweep, transcending time and space to another scene, and totally irrelevant, but irrelevant if you are attending. So the audience must make these connections when I jump about talking about this and that. I am different from you in this one respect. Last night at the reception, so many of you were talking about finding and searching your roots and became very proud of who you are when you saw your villages and so on and so forth. I'm on the other side that I have found as a Hakka boy that Hakkas are of many faces. I guess, could I have a cup, please? Is it possible at your university? No? You drink like this primitive. Okay, that's okay. It's okay. It's okay. If you don't mind, this is also humanity. And I forget what I'm going to say. I was in my father's village after the Japanese had occupied Hong Kong in 1942, 43. And I was 8 years old and went to school the first time. In the morning, I went to the school. There was these readings or recitings. Thanks a lot. Thank you. And I turned around and I saw 6 black faces in class. 6. 4 of them from Jamaica, 1 from Chile, and 1 from Trinidad. And they were speaking Hakka better than me because I did not speak Hakka being born in Hong Kong. And every morning we watch one boy whose name is actually Arthur, but because we couldn't pronounce it, we say Ada. And what he was distinguished about is that he always walked upside down on his hands, using the wooden clock because it's all muddy, right? The school has a tower of 4 stories, and on top of it there is a little room, right? And he was up there, walking on his hands. And that was our major morning amusement every day. The headmaster of this school, Hakka, if anybody recognizes it, is a little man, Chin Si-kin, who had gone to the Suriname and married a Dutch woman, tall and white. But she is the most kind and Chinese person I have met in my life. She has produced 4 sons and 2 daughters and lived a long life. The headmaster took a very special interest of me, I don't know why, and invited me often to his home. And always his wife, who I call Jiapo, always have a bowl of sugar soup with peanuts, which was very nourishable in those days. And that is another Hakka. One day, in so many years ago, I and my young son went down to South America, St. Martin's, I think, a little island, for holiday. And the island is just, you can walk this way, and that's the end of the island, so small. And we found this Chinese restaurant, and we went in to eat. The waiter is a black waiter. There are so many kinds of blacks, as you know. I mean, we call them black, but some of them are huge people, like your brother, Paula, right? Huge, about 8 feet. and chocolate brown or chocolate black or whatever. And within 5 minutes, I told my young son, who was born in Canada, I said, that is a Hakka. I said, come Dad, come Dad. I said, okay, if you don't believe it, we will ask him. And when he came around, I did ask him, and he looked at me, and he said, how do you know? I said, I know. How do I know? This defines what a Hakka is. A Hakka person has this way of working that is seemingly slow, but extremely efficient. They do things from A to B in a straight line. They don't go from A to C to D and then B, which most people do. Later on, I will give you a better definition, but this is the story of it. When I came to Ottawa to study in 1957, I had to earn my own keeps. And one way to do that is, in those days, there are still mails. I mean, today you have your thing, whatever it is called.
Smartphone.
In those days, you have mails, and the mails, and around Christmas, you have a lot of mails, right? So they employ students to sort out mails at 50 cents an hour. We have a team of 4 people, and one next to me was a black. And in about 10 minutes, I watched him, and in my mind, he is a black. And then at lunchtime, which is midnight, and I asked him, again he looked at me. He said, how do you know? Which means that he is a Hakka, right? I said, I know. Because again, he, in sorting the mail, 26 alphabets, you have about 16 slots, right? Marked there. Most people go like that. And then after 2 hours, their neck became painful. What he did was that he memorized the slots, and he just... He and I became the most efficient sorter in that office, post office. And later on, they don't want us to sort anymore. Why? Because in those days, managers in the post office were ex-army people from Britain in 1957. They don't want efficiency. I mean, efficiency means that they wouldn't have any job. So they said, you two guys go down the elevators and get the mails, the bulk mails, and then distribute them to the sorters. A promotion. So much about who is a Hakka. All right? I mean, these stories, you have to remember them. You promise me you remember these stories? They actually tell you the qualities and the characteristics of a Hakka. All right? I mean, giving a definition is meaningless. I am a little sad this morning because I see not too many young people in this audience. I would have wished that at least 1/3 of them, because my lecture is so simple that they could understand. All right. We live in this so-called global world, sometimes called one world, and sometimes I don't know what kind of world. What does global mean? Global means that you have this thing, and up and down you have time, and across you have space. Now, Hakka people and Hakka spirit, which in the title of my speech that is dictated by my friend Keith, not me, means that we are global in time and space. There is not a single place on earth over time of maybe 200 years that you couldn't find a Hakka. You search among your friends and so on, and you would understand. In 1972, I think thereabouts, when China began to open up to the world, and I will tell you the secret urged by me, Deng Xiaoping first visited Singapore, and he met Li Guangyao, who is a Hakka, and he said to him that I'm overwhelmed by the modernization and the progress that you have made for Singapore. And Li Guangyao replied like this. He said, "You don't have to thank me, because I can see that with China opening up, in merely another 10 years, your progress would overtake what you see here today." And Deng Xiaoping was sort of in disbelief. And Li Guangyao said, "Because my forefathers and most of the Singaporean forefathers came from China. They were illiterates. They also were not knowledgeable. And if they can make the progress that you have seen today, what about all the learned people you have in China?" This is a very famous dialogue because within 10 years, and now 30-some years, you go to China and you can see that progress. China is now a big country in Xi Jinping's terms, and he defined it by saying a big developing country, because he didn't want it to annoy Obama. And what is Obama, by the way? He I wish he was. But no laughing. He has a brother who lives in Shenzhen. Obama has a brother who lives in Shenzhen. So there may be, if somebody traces, he might be a Hakka. But he doesn't act like a Hakka. That's my problem. Recently he visited Yokosuka, or whatever the name in Japan that they dropped the bomb.
Hiroshima.
Hiroshima. And he knew that the world was looking at him as he spoke. He said, war is war. And in any war, you kill each other. That was his apology for America dropping the atom bomb. Then he said, we should look into the future. And I wish, and I hope, and I've decided that the world should be non-nuclear. Maybe? What are you applauding for? He said this knowing that America has the biggest arsenal of hydrogen bombs. When even a 6-year-old listening to him knows that he's a fake. And not more than that, he believes that everybody else are fools. That is the problem today of the world. A Hakka wouldn't do that, all right? All right, how do we understand the so-called Hakka legacy? There are two ways of going about. You know, this is longer and richer. This is very tiny. But most people go by the books. Most people by the books. We forget that civilization and culture is made by people, by their tribes, by their aspirations, by their hard work, by their practical immersion into life. And this is the part that I know very well as that part, of course, but that part is all mostly wrong. It also always repeat about the same thing. We have the qualities of being honest, which is not exactly right. We have the quality of hardworking, which is right. And we are this and we are that. But I'm going to talk about many things that are the deposits or precipitations of the lives of our ancestors. And it is very, very rich, but it is being lost. It will be lost when I'm gone. I'm 83 today, and I will make the next conference, and that's about it. And with that, there will be no speakers like me. And all this will be gone. Now, you realize that these were my calligraphies. The first one, Hakka, the Chinese characters are the most amazing characters because it's pictorial, it is also meaning local, and so on. Now, Hakka refers to in books that we are the guest people. Guest people? Truly, partly truly, we came driven by the Huns, which are supposed to be the Hungarians, but there are no more Huns anymore today, down from the north to the south, and then we went overseas later on. But we have a philosophy of life which distinguishes our legacy compared to all the legacies of all the other groups in the Chinese people, all right? And in this Hakka, we have this thing. What does it look like?
Roof.
To you? A lid, right? A lid. We call it a precious lid, or could be the roof, right? And in which, as you see in this word or character, a bird. Can you see a bird here? It's a bird. And over here, less like the image is a pig. So this means Hakka, meaning what? We eat birds and we eat pigs. Right? Somebody mentioned Choi Zhongyuk. He didn't mention goose. Choi Gon Mun Later, I'm going to tell you about Hakka cuisine, which is the most I am in search of an adjective, and there is none. It is the best. We have, because we migrate, and usually we choose our settlement according to what is feng shui, winds and waters. We have this philosophy of life that if we are near the mountain, we eat the mountain. And when we are near the waters, we eat water. 靠山是山，靠水是水. Meaning that we are very much a part of nature. And we take it from nature. If we're near the hill, we get these wild boars and we catch birds and so on. When we are near the water, we catch fish and everything else. And that's the Hakka way of life, which is a part of, I mean, we don't have McDonald's and stuff like that. We do in Jamaica have agates and breadfruit. More than that, we transport wherever we go. I mean, Hakka food now or Chinese food now have many imports. From Jamaica, we have sweet potatoes, we have papayas, and we have roots. The kind of roots that, is one root and you can eat for generations. You don't have to do anything with it. I mean, what economy do we have? One root and we can feed all the generations. Now I'm going to take the montage and go to another sphere of life, and that is that the basic philosophy of Hakka is contained in two characters, which is Gang Tuk. I have separated this thing a little bit. Gang means tilling the land, tilling the fields. This is the fields, this is the holes and so on. In modern sense, meaning production, right? We must produce, we must work. We cannot become just doing this kind of thing all day and hear needs. Or taking food stamps and complaining about the government. We produce. And here, this means language. In language, it's not a simple thing. It will take me 10 hours to explain what languages are, but I have less than 10 minutes. Language means human expression of self, of ourselves, of ideas, aspirations. And it also means the human succession of legacy contained in books. Wrong. Also contained by your mother telling you, your father telling you what to do, and you're telling your son and grandson what to do, right? The transmission of culture is not only by books, nor by email, and so on, but it's by words, by deeds, by food, by furniture, and so on and so forth. Gang Tuk, this means connection, means selling. Selling doesn't always mean making a profit. I mean, if you sell your ideas, you don't really make profits. You sometimes upset people, right? Tuk means connections. I think Tuk means connections. We produce, we make connections with other people.
Yep, almost there, sir.
Almost there? Boy, I'm only beginning. Wow.
Dr. Kong, would you still like to open it up for questions and answers with the audience?
Oh, yes. I'll make it. I'm going to do a montage and go to another place. What should I say? You see how he upset me? Time. The human beings are time binders. We are always conscious of time. But the clock was only invented some less than 1,000 years ago. And I usually don't wear, I haven't worn a watch for more than 20 years. Today I have to wear one because of this brutal demand that I lecture for 1 hour. You see what you do to me? This is not being very Hakka. Okay. I found out what I am going to say. In modern terms, we are so embroiled with so-called economy. Most of us sweat and become stressful because we are greedy. You don't admit it, you're greedy. Tell me how many shirts you own, how many pair of shoes. We only need one pair of shoes at a time and one shirt at a time. Tell me how many zeros you have in your bank book. We only need about 4 zeros. And if you have 20, that is irrelevant. But the most important characteristic of a Hakka is this word, adaptation. Adaptation. Fit into the environment and make the best out of it, and even transcend it to help others. There are 5 A's to explain adaptation, and it'll take 15 minutes, and then I'll He is called a gatekeeper, timekeeper.
I'm actually called worse by my wife.
Oh. Wife call you Hakka. If the spelling is wrong, doesn't matter. The first A is accept. Now, when you go to a strange place, a totally foreign place, some people cannot accept the newness, the unusual conditions, and they spend most of their energy fighting. Why am I here? Why do I stay in the old village or whatever? But Hakkas don't. They accept it. Second thing is they assess it. Once they have accepted the environment, Jamaica, wow, there's a lot of red soils, but we can turn it to grow sugar or roots better. Assessment. And thirdly, they have activity. Once they assess the situation, they sort out, what can I do with this environment? And of course, there are many things that they do, right? Then you have achievement. Once they make activities, they achieve.